The FTC issued warnings to 12 creators, including Steph Grasso and Mary Ellen Phipps, for not properly disclosing their relationship with a brand in a sponsored post. The creators that were issued a warning had 15 days to respond to the FTC with a plan for how they're going to address the issues going forward, although they could face penalties of up to $50,120 anyways. This came after the FTC issued stricter guidelines for influencers on disclosing partnerships, which now require influencers to disclose the partnership in both the video and the caption, not just the latter. This means that a little hashtag ad in the caption is not going to do it going forward.
Hi, it's JJ God. Welcome back to my channel. So this is the channel for fellow content creators, helping you decode the laws and rules related to your life as a content creator. This will be the first time I'm doing a long video just talking about the Federal Trade Commission rules and disclosures. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. The way I figured I'll do this today is going to be sort of like the Idiot's Guide or the Fill in the Blank for Dummies. For those of you who are old enough to remember, a little while ago, there was these series of books that explain complex topics, but like they dumb it down for people who aren't experts. And so one of them was called like the Fill in the Blank for Dummies. The other one's for Idiot's Guide. So that's what this is. And that's the thumbnail I think I'm going to use for this. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to change it all. Is the Idiot's Guide to Federal Trade Commission Disclosures. And I'm not calling you an idiot because I actually use those books. Like, for example, like little sidebar in my life, I started off Christian, Catholic. My mom took us to church. My dad is Muslim. So at some point I went to Arabic school and I learned about Islam. And then I returned to Christianity right before I got married. And so I just didn't have a long history of studying the Bible. And so I figured I'd get the Idiot's Guide to the Bible. And so I also had Idiot's Guide to grant writing. So, and these are great books for just explaining things in basic terms. And that's what we're going to do today. So if you're interested in that, we're going to first talk about just basic background at FTC. See, what is the Federal Trade Commission disclosures? Why do they do this? And who is it benefiting it? And who gives them the right to do it? And what can they do to you? And then the FTC has its own frequently asked questions in its website. I'm going to put a link down below to it. It's really, really good and simple. And they do a really great job. But I do realize a lot of people are more visual learners or maybe audible, like they prefer to hear something explained to them. So if you're fine with text, I'll put a link to the actual disclosures. It's a pretty long document, but if you prefer to have someone explain something to you, stay tuned. So let's get started. First, what is the Federal Trade Commission? Like, what is that? So if you aren't in the United States or you are from the United States and you learned in civics class, whether in elementary, middle school, high school, even college, you know the United States has three branches of government. The legislature makes the laws, the judiciary interprets law, that's the courts, and then the executive, which is the president and the agencies under, executes the law. And so under the executive branch government, there's a Federal Trade Commission, and the laws that they're executing is essentially laws related to consumer protection. And one of the consumer issues we're worried about, in which we're concerned here, is truth in advertisement and endorsements disclosures. And so that's what the FTC does under this. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, what does this have to do with content creators? The FTC always had these rules for businesses and digital media, advertising on television and radio, but as social media became a thing, they realized that consumers are consuming the information through digital means. And of course, eventually influencers came around. And if you remember the earliest days of influencing, one of the brands that, and I talked about in this video, actually made a lot of money is a flat tummy tea. So they were getting these influencers to promote these teas that help women lose weight, but they weren't disclosing the fact that they were paid. And so the FTC felt like they need to step in here again in truth and endorsement, because once you're endorsing something, you're being paid. You need to have full disclosure to your audiences and the people who watch your content so they can know that you were given something in exchange for that. And to just take that as a grain of salt. So again, it's not about controlling what you can or cannot say, other than making sure the consumers are aware that this is kind of a commercial. You're paid for this. So that is where they get involved. Now, you may be asking yourself, don't people know that most influencer content creators are paid? And the answer is no. There's some people who don't know. One of the groups that the Trade Commission looks out for is vulnerable populations, including children. So children have parasocial relationship with their fellow creator, with their favorite YouTuber or Twitch streamer, and they just don't understand necessarily because their brains are still formulating, and they just don't understand necessarily about commercials. There's also a lot of vulnerable adults who really just don't get it, or just don't understand, or may not put one and two together, may not realize they're being influenced by someone who is getting paid something if not being paid directly, maybe getting a free product, or maybe I'm getting affiliate commission for promoting a certain product because they get a piece of the pie for every person who makes a sale. So that is the reason why the Federal Trade Commission regulates consumers. What's at risk here? So what they can do essentially is levy fines up to $30,000 per instance or more. Now, the next question you might be asking yourself is the FTC like police, like looking at social media content? And the answer is no, not really. They're not doing it. What happens is if someone tells them, an example with the flat tummy tea, and it seems like it could be an issue, an epidemic, or kids are getting sick, or people are just not understanding that it doesn't necessarily work, and people promoting it may not even use it, then the FTC will step in, but it has to be a problem. Now, as to the companies and the brands and the intermediary, the agencies, they're a little bit more regulated. They may be watched, especially if there's like a going problem. But the average influencer, content creator, FTC is not watching you. Who is watching you though? Oh, your haters, competitors, people in your niche who may realize that you are getting paid and not properly disclosing. And if they want to slow your roll a little bit, they can actually go snitch the FTC. So if the FTC is made aware of you from someone else individually, then you can be in trouble. So that is the risk. So you can do whatever, but know that at any given point, someone could rat you out. What is an endorsement? Like, is it just influencers or content creators? Or no, anyone can endorse. The minute you on social media, on your own personal Facebook page, touting a product or service that you use, that's an endorsement. Now, do you have to disclose? You only have to disclose if you were paid something, either paid cash, paid by a free product, or even given affiliate commission. So if you promote this, you'll get a piece of the pie. So that's the only time you have to disclose. Otherwise, you don't have to disclose. Now, let's get into some of the frequently asked questions. So FTC came up with these questions that people have asked them before, and they put this in a document. So here are some frequently asked questions. Do you have to disclose if you purchased something and got nothing for it, like you weren't paid for it? The answer is no, you don't have to disclose. But what happened is a lot of times content creators and influencers feel like they need to say that they did it, they purchased something on their own, because they do brand deals, they do have sponsorships on the page, and they want to make sure that it's clear to the audience that they went out and purchased with their own money, and what they're saying is based on just their own feelings about the product or service, and it's not based on being influenced by being paid. But you don't have to do that. But I do understand why some people may feel the need to drop a disclosure nonetheless. Does the FTC hold bloggers to a different standard than journalists and television stations? Not really. I think what they do realize is that regular television, news, and broadcasts and newspapers and things like that, it's understood that they're doing a service and a job, and if they're talking about a product, it's because they're objective. However, because of the influence, they just don't know whether it's you doing it objectively or not. So that's why influencers have to disclose to a certain extent. So because the influencer industry is relatively new, and still a lot of people just aren't necessarily aware of that. But the FTC is aware that the lines could be blurred easily with influencers and content creators. That's why they kind of require influencers to do disclosures for the most part separate from the media. So it's not really treated them more higher standard. It's just different. So that's what the FTC says. Okay, so what if all you got in exchange for promoting product is a $1 coupon or like entry into a contest? So in that case, the FTC says, will you really go out your way? All you're getting is $1? Maybe not. However, if, for example, the contest says that if you can get as many people to attend or sign up for this event, and you're getting like a free trip or something like that. So it might be a $1 coupon, but the incentive for you to get more people to sign up is that you'll win this prize. It means that you're going to go harder for it. So it's all about, the effort that you put into it. If it's based on the fact that you're going to get something, and you may influence people because you're going harder on it because there's something you're getting out of the back of it, then yes, you should disclose, technically. Okay, so if you have an ongoing brand deal, you've done a couple of videos, and so the deal requires you to make videos occasionally, like once a month or something like that, you have to disclose every single time. So the answer is yes, because one, not everyone's your follower, and your video may go to non-followers. And the two, you may have people who followed you since you started that brand deal who didn't see the first two videos already, so they wouldn't necessarily know. So each time you have to say that you are a sponsor or you're a brand ambassador for this brand when you promote them. What if you get a free game or free product initially, and after you got that free product, you disclose, but you continue to use like a game if you're a gamer, for example, or you bought that product again for yourself later on, do you have to disclose every single time? The answer is no, not necessarily. It also depends of the price of the product. So if it was like a $50 game or $4 tube of lipstick and it's been a year, the FTC says you don't have to disclose again, because especially if the subsequent purchases, the ongoing uses of the game is so far behind and it's just like a relatively inexpensive game, you don't necessarily have to disclose. However, if you were given a free car, like a Lexus, for example, and you're talking about your Lexus and the features, then because of the weight of the item that you were given, then the FTC says you should disclose that you're talking about a product that you got for free. So do you have to disclose your own product? So for example, let's say I make a tube of lipstick. I'm a lipstick blogger or YouTuber and I am promoting my own lipstick. Do you have to disclose? No. It's presumed that if it's your brand that you're promoting it, that you're going to get paid when people purchase it. So there's no need to disclose in that case, FTC said. However, do you need to disclose product placements? Now that is a new area. Ordinarily for television, so for example, I've been watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and one time they zoomed in on a brand of water for a long time and lingered. I'm like, that's clearly a product placement. I knew that, but because the social media is still kind of new, FTC says that you don't have to actually disclose that you were paid to have, for example, let's say I was paid to have this camera in the background. Can you see the camera? This camera in the background. I don't have to disclose that. I can just leave that there. So there's opportunities there. So if you were a YouTuber and you are located not in the United States or in some other country and you were given a product that they sell in the United States to promote, do you have to disclose? The answer is yes, especially if that product, even if it's not US based, targets and has distribution factories or plants in the United States, then they are subject to the Federal Trade Commission rules. So even though you ordinarily wouldn't necessarily need to, then no. However, here's when you definitely wouldn't necessarily need to disclose is if your target audience is mainly fellow Indians, for example, and you're Indian and the product is only sold in India, then if Indian laws don't require you to disclose, then you don't have to disclose. It's only when your audience is American, the product is American, or maybe your target audience is American that you need to disclose. Otherwise, you're free to go. You don't have to disclose if it's not required in your country. What about aspirational content? Let's say Tesla gave you a Tesla to ask you a product promotion and they say, hey, promote and talk about how you would love to drive this new Tesla edition, and you talk about that. Do you have to disclose considering they didn't give you a Tesla? The answer, according to FCC, is yes. If you're going to be talking about your aspirational content, that does require disclosure, even if you don't have the car in your hand. The reason why is that people who have quote unquote parasocial relationships with you, and parasocial essentially means when someone likes you so much as a creator that they feel like they're your friend. And so they're going to want what you want. So even though you don't have a Tesla, if they can afford a Tesla and you're saying that this brand of Tesla that you would like to purchase, then you would influence them to get that because they like you so much. And so even though it's aspirational, it counts. And so you would need to disclose that Tesla paid you to promote this new model of their Tesla. What if you wear a brand that's popular in your video and everyone knows about it, but you don't tag the brand? Do you have to disclose that or no? There's no FTC disclosure if you weren't paid to wear that jacket, if you weren't given anything, jacket for free, or you weren't getting a discount for people using the jacket. It's just you wearing the jacket. You don't have to disclose. You don't have to tag at all because you didn't do it. Now, what if you actually tag them? Now, if you tag them, but you, again, weren't given a product, weren't getting paid, or weren't given like a commission, you're not getting commission, affiliate commission if someone purchased it, then it's similar because it's just like you just wearing the jacket. You're just tagging them so the brand knows. Then you don't. However, if you were given any one of those things, the jacket for free, money to promote the jacket, or you're getting affiliate commission or some sort of coupon for everyone to purchase a jacket, and you tag them, then yes, you'd have to disclose that fact. But otherwise, no, you don't have to disclose. So those are just a few examples for FTC disclosures. Now, I don't want this video to go too long. For the next video, I'm going to talk about affiliate thinking and the way you disclose affiliate commissions. And then also for formats like X, formerly Twitter, that has not a lot of space, like where do you put the disclosure? Where if it was like a blog article, you could put it on top. If it's a YouTube video, you can audibly say it during the course of the video. But what about short form content like X, it's Twitter, or TikTok or Shorts or Instagram. We don't have a lot of space on the screen or even a lot of time to disclose. Like, where does those disclosure goes? How does those supposed to look like? We're going to talk about that in the next video in this series. So stay tuned. And again, if you are interested in this, share. Let's comment below what any thoughts about those disclosures did you have. Let's talk about it. Are there any questions you have related to the deal you want me to do regarding Federal Trade Commission disclosure, or if you're confused about anything I said today in this video? I want to invite you. Let's continue the conversation. Let's discuss before. And also, do you like this series that I'm doing here? I am going to pivot at some point and do videos related to Pinterest marketing and maybe some other sort of social media content videos. But I'll continue in this series. So if you're interested in that, again, I want to invite you to subscribe. Tell your friends. Let's keep the party going. Continue on and watch this video next.